So I'm going to talk about library communities here at Ohio State, and I'm going to try not to move too much, but I'm not promising anything. So this might be what you think of when you think of the library, maybe. It's beautiful, but you probably think more like this, which is my hope, right? But that probably actually isn't it either. You probably think of this as the library, right? And I'm under no illusion that that is otherwise. And that plays out time and again, graduate students, undergrads too. And to me, that's great. As long as you can get the information you need, the interface, we'd like to get it to you so that it's faster, stronger, and all of that, and free. But how you access it, it's important that you are able to access it. And so looking at how information is available and looking at our spaces and services is one of the things that we're trying to do in the library. So there's a study that OCLC did in 2010 of looking at the library as place, and they asked with college students. 1% are starting with the library database or the library homepage. So clearly, they're only going there if the faculty say, you need to use the library. 57% of college students will go there eventually, but they won't start there, not surprisingly. Most people don't start their research at the library. That's a place that they go along the path. And sort of 30% of our college students are using online databases. But the library website, you can see here, 83% are starting with the search engine. That could just as easily say Google. Going to Wikipedia, they're asking their friends. They might start at a database. They probably are talking to their faculty. So this is a brand new report that came out 2 days ago, and it's only talking about faculty then. Where are faculty going? And it varies by year, but where they're starting, it might be a specific resource or database. Lots of people are just starting on the web, and that's growing. Some people are still going to the library catalog. Very few are coming to library building. Nothing is earth-shattering here. Like, this is sort of what we expect if they're thinking about where do people go for doing web searches for research. This one I thought was more interesting. The same report of how people search by discipline. Again, nothing too shocking here. Humanity folks are still coming to the library building. Not so much sciences, but even humanities, they're not coming that much. And it's interesting by discipline the differences of starting at a search engine. So definitely more in the sciences. But also in the sciences, you're seeing I'm looking for a specific database and going there. So that was interesting and trying to get a scope of how that works. So national trends versus local. So in libraries, we're seeing an increasing number of questions that come where people are stuck because they can't find the information that they were looking for with the web. So sometimes it's poorly crafted questions, and sometimes it's poorly crafted filters of what to do with that information, how you find it. This is one of my favorite slides because it talks about why reference librarians are so important. And it also shows why that previous quote is so relevant, right? Because it's all about how why it's important to ask the right questions when you're starting to do your research. Or thinking about services, really tackling any problems. It's making sure that people are explaining what they want, when they want, so that they can end up with the tire swing of their dreams. So how this is sort of manifesting itself in libraries is we have this old standard of the reference desk, which we still have. It is not going away, but we've seen a decline. And so this is a just-in-case service. So we are standing in the library from 10 until 5 every day, waiting for you to come and ask us questions. And we might be reference students, we might be librarians, but we're waiting. Come ask us. because we have lots of answers and have good search skills, but we're there waiting for you and students at a big imposing desk that lots of people are afraid to come up and talk to, and we get lots of questions about where do we check out books. But we're waiting with research. This is instead sort of in libraries in general where we're moving. And so looking at community and how we understand our community and how it informs our services is that we're going out into departments. We're sending our subject specialists out there. We have services that will help you meet your needs, and we want to be embedded. We want to be there alongside you as you're doing your research, part of your research team, helping support your grants, all of that, so that the librarian is just one of those people that you can work with to fully develop and get at what it is and bounce ideas off. We want to partner with you in that way. And sort of one of the ways that we are deciding what are the services we should offer and how do we provide those to you in a way that's going to make sense to you is we gather a lot of data. I'm not saying librarians are good stalkers, I'm just saying we kind of are. We're really good at we collect a lot of data in the libraries. We're good at asking questions and pulling people together, and then we mine that data for what it could mean, but doing a balance of the quantitative and qualitative data that is there and available. So, some of the stuff that we're doing is looking at environmental scans of reports that have been done elsewhere and just trends that we know based on usage. And we're finding that there are lots, as evidenced by your participation in this group, lots of interdisciplinary teams. So libraries traditionally have assigned a librarian for each discipline, and it's very segmented. We're able to support you in that way. But now we're finding things like math and biology mixing together. And those people might have played together in the past within the library, but maybe not. And the resources that they need and the services that they need are a little different. And when we start talking about digital humanities and how that's working, you might need some data folks and you might need some humanists and get them to come together. So lots of interdisciplinary, lots of information at point of need. So this is my little image of when researchers are out in the field. What kind of support do they need? Are they able to get the resources that they need when and where they need that? Making sure it's available in the format that they want. Pushing more collections electronically and then making sure access is available. Supporting research at all levels. So looking at our communities and understanding undergraduate research needs are different from graduate or different from faculty. And finding the balance there. And really helping people to construct better filters, to take the huge amounts of information and data and resources that are available and pointing you to the ones you need when you need them, and how to set up better filters. Okay, so that's just looking broadly. Those are national trends. We also here at OSU have done some focus group studies prior to my arrival, so I just get to report on what other people are doing. But we talked with the art and architecture graduate students, and they gave plenty of feedback, wanting spaces just for them. It's going to be quiet so they can work on their thesis, not be overrun. They love the libraries as they are, but they're busy, and they're like a study hall, and they're trafficky. And then they're new to research at in-depth levels, but they're also new to teaching. So how that works and what kind of support the library can provide. Again, too much information. They love the services when they can find them about interlibrary loan, but they of course want fewer fines and longer checkout periods. So some of the other data that we have that helps us think about services that we're going to offer are we collect lots and lots of statistics in the library. We have gate counts that show how much foot traffic there is. We have usage statistics from all of our resources. And then we also are tracking reference questions. So if you're asking us questions, what do those look like? And we're seeing sort of, you see peaks that follow this quarter and then semester trends.
So what do you mean by gate counts?
What's that?
What do you mean by gate counts?
Gate counts. When people physically come in the building, they pass through, there are gates that are sensors, so if you leave.
So those white things are actually
Yes.
sensing you?
They are sensing you. They're making sure you're not stealing library stuff, and they're also counting how many people pass.
Are they not metal detectors?
It's not metal detectors.
Oh.
It's so You can bring all the metal you want into the library.
It's not a gun-free zone.
That's right. That's right.
So you're going to stay there.
So looking at sort of what we're seeing as deeper consultation. So information is very much available, but how to understand it, how to manage it. And so we're seeing lots of more in-depth consultations, and that's growing, which is good. So it means people are getting into meatier questions. And this is a model that we're moving towards here at OSU, where librarian becomes collaborator, an instructor, and that it really becomes a lot more of a collaborative process, where user can do stuff on their own, but then also partner with the librarian to reconstruct their search query and really get deep into the data. And then still providing access to great collections when and where you need them, but really have it be more of a creation process. So what this might look like, right? So a couple of different things that I want to make sure I have some time here at the end to talk about. One of the things we're thinking about doing is we're looking at some spaces, but spaces as they relate to services. And so the library, several people have said, is a major free zone, is what students call it. So they don't see it as tied to discipline, which means we get to partner with lots of different groups for how can we work with them and sort of serve all users, which is nice. But then what are the research services that are needed and what format is that going to look like? And so we're looking at some partners that I'll talk about in the next slide, and they might be doing workshops or holding office hours. We might have a space that deals with technology when it's needed, and an ability to collaborate sort of across where people are as they're doing their research process. So we're hoping this is going to take the format of research commons, and we're still in the planning stages of this, but I'm so excited about it. And it's going to really focus on some of the services we offer in the library, both through the knowledge bank. So that's our institutional repository, where the output from your research can be deposited, so preprints or postprints, depending on your agreements with your publishers. They also do open access and journal publishing, and conference publishing is one of the areas they're getting into. Copyright services that Sandra gets to take over. And then as we're also looking to hire or partner for expertise related to GIS and mapping as it relates to digital humanities. That's going to be another, or other areas. So GIS and mapping has been sort of an explosion area, and the libraries want to provide, there are disciplines that provide that for those folks, but other people want to apply that to their research, and there's not a good route for how to access that if you are not part of geography or civil engineering on this campus, for example. Also looking at data visualization, and then thinking about what is the space going to look like that works towards building this community, and what services then need to be offered. So some flexible space, whiteboards, a place for brainstorming. We're really excited about it, but also lots of question marks in terms of what support is needed. So let's see, I think that's what I have. I know, I'm so fast. I'm so fast. I'm happy to take.
I have a really stupid question.
That's no such thing unless it is.
I have not used the services of a librarian in probably a decade.
Okay.
And I feel, so my question to you is, where is the librarian or the information specialist going to get the training to have such domain-specific knowledge?
Okay.
Right? So, right, we kind of I love the websites can you Google it for me?
Right.
Things like that, or we call it Doctor Up to Date. One of the big medical references that everybody uses. But how is someone not in the field supposed to keep up with it? That's, what do you feel like your role is in that?
Right. So, a couple of different reasons. It could be that we're not trying to, so the thing that I say for librarians is I don't need to know what you need to know, but I can find what you need to know, which is a little different. So I know a little about a lot, right? And I think that's true of most librarians. They know a lot about the stuff that is related to librarianship, and then they know a little about a lot of other things that can help you dive into research. So constructing queries or setting up SDs for how to stay up to date, or other libraries, I think, and librarians are really good connectors because we span so many disciplines at connecting you with other resources on campus that you might need to know about, or other services that are available. I guess is sort of the quick answer, and because we think across discipline boundaries regularly, we might think of different ways of approaching your same research problem.
So your question gets me going on something separate then. Would you be able then to set up a separate script which would search the sites that I typically go to find very specific, subject-specific papers that come out? And could you do an automated email alert for me that, hey, someone just referenced your paper?
Yes. That I can do. Reference your paper, absolutely.
Because that's different than the traditional role of so it's less librarian, checkout person,
right.
More data analyst.
Right.
Right. So that's.
And I think that's the big thing is librarians for a long time, right? So this is a great question. Both of them piggybacking on each other. Is that librarians for a long time have been doing this, but we are really good at our job and not so good at marketing, I think is part of it. And so when you think of librarian in the library, very quietly sitting and shushing people, right, behind the service desk, that really isn't what we do. And so I think librarians now and in the future, some are better than others, and I'm not putting myself in this category, are trying to explain what it is, all the services that we can offer, and how that helps you. But we're really good at finding stuff, but we're not good at thinking about how to market the services that we already provide. So making your research process easier, absolutely. Absolutely. And staying up to date, making sure people how they're tracking you, librarians are, and libraries in general, already thinking about the publishing model. Is it broken? What does that, if it is, how do we fix it? If you're going to specific articles and you care about whose site you don't necessarily care you might care which journal it's in, but you just want them to find your article. You could totally break apart the whole publishing industry, right, radical librarianship, where you have it at the article level. That in theory you could put it in our institutional repository because all you care is people find your article. So if you're really good at promoting and have other people read your article, then who cares if it's in a different journal? I mean, we're looking at how citation works and alt metrics and all that kind of stuff, sort of in librarianship.
Is this repository peer reviewed?
So this is the thing. So I'm not going to go down this road, right? So we're going to, this is another talk for another time. And how that works. I think there are lots of caveats and addendas to breaking apart the publishing model because it does do things like peer review. And there are lots of things that open access does, but whether it's author pay, that will be a discussion for another time. But there are ideas of how you can break apart.
If you can fix my H-index.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. But even things like if other people don't know what the H-index is, there are things like that and how to stock yourself for tenure and promotion. right? There are definitely easy ways to set that up through library resources or other ways.
Before I ask my next question, since I don't want to be targeting this year, how much time are we allowed for questions after each?
Since Meris is actually still within the limits of her talk, yeah, we definitely have like another 5 minutes or so.
So I wanted to ask everyone if they ever had a encounter or some kind of some sort of help from a librarian or library service which they did not expect. Because I definitely have one, which I loved when I was at the Institute in Princeton, which was, for me, being in the field means being at a conference.
Right.
And I'm all of a sudden talking with someone, and I say, oh, I think I know what paper that might be in. And when I was there at the Institute, I could just email the librarian and say, here's my question. Could you please send me a PDF scanned copy of this paper from the 1930s? And they would do that by the next day.
Yeah.
And I am always intimidated to ask for that same sort of service from a state institution for some reason. I never asked for it anywhere.
That's what we're here for! That's why we're here!
I've never heard of
I
articles.
asked the librarians at MIT a lot for articles published in the 40s and 50s. I just couldn't find, and they would be in some obscure European journal from like 1947. I've got no hope of finding it. And they would, find it somehow and email it to me the next day.
To me, I didn't know that was a standard.
So, just based on the number of librarians that we have, we're able to match up by different disciplines. If you are unsure which discipline, who the librarian is, let's do this. Library.osu.edu. Find librarians.
Oh.
Ta-da!
So can the librarians come to our lab meeting?
Absolutely. They would love that. They would love that. Absolutely. And Med Center operates, so on this campus we have 16 libraries. Some of them are specialized, like our cartoon library. But we also have a law school that has a separate library and operates a little differently. And we have the health science library that serves medical area. And then there's also a librarian at the Med Center? At the hospital? I don't know. That might be, I just made that up.
I think some of their librarians work on the floors of the hospital.
Okay, they do go on rounds. Some of our health science folks do, yeah.
But so prior is or is not institutionally independent of Thompson and Mandernach?
They operate on our same tenure process.
It's administratively separate from
Right.
university libraries, but we are under the same tenure
Process.
unit.
Gotcha.
Our librarians here are tenure. They're in tenure track positions. So anything that you have to go through for tenure, we also have to go through for tenure. What else can I tell you about the libraries?
Are they dead?
They're not dead.
So getting back to the previous question about getting journal articles by the fancy interlibrary law.
Yeah.
So I was just searching for it, I couldn't find the email, but there was a journal that I wanted added, thinking that that was the only way that we could get the articles for it. And this is not the case. There is, so if there's a journal that we don't have a subscription to.
You have a couple of different options. You can email your subject specialist. They would happily take that recommendation. If you do not see your discipline here, for those who are interdisciplinary, you can, okay. You can send them to me, but they also, you can ask for specific articles right here through our library on Article Express. And you have to set up an account, which is somewhat unfortunate, but they will process all of that.
And how much does that cost the
Free.
university for?
Oh, to the university per. I was not expecting that question. Free. It depends based on journal. Usually it's about $14 to $17. It depends. Some of them are free, depending on where they're able to get them. So other Ohio library, Ohio Link schools, they have a reciprocal agreement.
Okay.
I can talk all day about libraries. I absolutely could.
Any other questions?
But you should set up an appointment with your librarian, and if you're scared by them, you should come and talk to me.
Is that less scary?
Yes.
I have one last question. I'm sorry, it sounded like things were winding down just as my hand
Oh,
was coming up. Can you talk a little bit about pressures on the library, given the data that you showed us about the way that the actual physical space is being used, and the move towards putting collections online, putting them, off of shelves, and just what that does to a library's holdings.
So most of what we're doing isn't actually, so how libraries count holdings varies. Because do you count what we have access to? Do you count what we physically have copies of? So we have, I should have had the gate counts, right? Because they're soaring. And even after the library opened, you would of course see a spike, but you would also, it's been continued growth at both 18th Avenue and Thompson. Just lots of foot traffic in and out of the building, right? Where they're going to get coffee and absolutely. But also just using space. And we've been doing some drop-in, students go around and count how much group study rooms are used. And we're seeing those get turn away. So the building itself is pretty busy, except on days like today where everyone's on the oval. But it was a concerted, a decision that was made that we wanted to make more user space in the library. So collections moved out, and right now they are being held off-site on Kenny Road. We have 2 deliveries a day, so even if it says it's at the book depository, it will still come twice a day for quick turnaround. But those are low-use titles, so they are going there. The libraries are also doing some shared collection strategy building. So across the state, we're making sure that we're not duplicating our state-given resources so much, and so we're limiting the number of copies we're acquiring, and we're also doing some withdrawal of print journals where we have a stable electronic and it's held through some consortial agreement. So we have a fail-safe, right? Whether that's going to impact sort of standing and how things go, the measures that are being used for that, and I'm sure same as through your department too, are they measuring the right things? Maybe not. Because it's really about, for as much as you're concerned, right, it doesn't matter, well maybe it does, of whether you have the print versus do you have access to the content, right? And in some cases, some disciplines, it does matter. Format is very important. And we're taking anything like that, all that feedback, absolutely welcome. But from the majority, having access to content is so much more important than physical item.
Yeah, I know that this was a big deal for the music library when it relocated to the new 18th Street, formerly the Science and Engineering Library, because musicians need to take scores and put them in places where the performance is.
Right.
It's changing somewhat because there are now these readers that will read scores off of PDF where the performer can turn the page through some gesture or something like that. But because that's one of the situations where the physical, it's not just the content, it's the medium, the physical medium that needs to be different.
It's definitely, and trying to figure out what you can do when the technology doesn't quite allow you to do it yet. So it's not a good parallel example, right? But I have a friend who's a high school band director, and he was so excited. He got an iPad and he got all of his music put onto the iPad so that he can sit there in the field and just flip through. And he was so excited. He was like, I don't have to do with paper anymore. It's so wonderful. that won't work for everybody, right? And it certainly won't work if you are trying to look at historical scores and how markup happens and all of that stuff. There is something that's lost when you lose the physical. But especially when the technology isn't quite there, or you have malfunctions and doesn't work the way you expect. Absolutely. I wish there were a better answer.
Okay, well, thank you, Meris.